Hey everyone, so this is actually a very special episode of Black Push Talk today because today we are going to connect with my friend, my mentor, my all in all, Pastor Lisa Musser and her podcast that she has called Why Justice Matters with a very special guest. So stay tuned right after this last video. Stay tuned for our very special guest. People are dying because they're waiting on us. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Pastor Lisa, we are back and we are live. And I know that we have with us joining us today the mayor of Uvalde who's on. And I know he's having a little bit of connection issues, but there's a lot still going on in Uvalde. And a lot still going on when we talk around the country about gun violence and about some of the things that are going on in this country. And that's what we're going to kind of circle back around to today. So it's your show, Pastor Lisa. I'm just here.
Well, I'm glad you're here. And as I just shared it to my page, Shaun. So I want to welcome everybody on my page to Why Justice Matters and thank everybody for their patience. As Shaun said, we're the mayor, the Uvalde mayor is traveling, so he has an iffy signal. So he was here a second ago, and he'll be back. And so we're discussing Uvalde and the issues that are still there. And I think Shaun, and the same thing with Buffalo. People once the funerals are done and everything, then people tend to move on, and there's more funerals and more violence, and we can't just move on and forget what's going on. And first of all, I want to start by commending you and Black Push, of which I'm a board member, and proud to be able to connect with you and the name Black Push, because before we get into it and before he even jumps on, thank you for going down on behalf of Black Push, and thank you for standing in solidarity with that community and with those little brown children whose lives were taken, and with those families who are grieving, and those little children who are grieving. And Black Push raised money, and this is the kind of work Black Push does. And I hope people will consider, when you say, why justice matters and what can people do to be a part of justice. Some people don't, can't take time off work to march on the streets or to do this or to do that. But people can always give to those who are really doing the work. And Black Push is doing the work. And this is one of the examples of things that Black Push is doing that really makes a difference in the lives of people who have been targets, who have been victims of injustice. And what Black Push has done in Uvalde, Texas, is with the money of those who have given to Black Push. Hello, Mayor. How are you today?
Good. I'm sorry. It took me a minute to figure out all this on his phone. I apologize.
So I want to just take a step back, and I want to now introduce our special guest of the evening. We have the mayor of Uvalde, Mr. Don. I call him Mr. Don, but he put his own name out today, so we'll say it. Mr. Don McLaughlin, who's actually in the mayor of Uvalde and has been dealing with some of one of the most horrific tragedies in our country's history, literally. And he's been the pioneer of that movement. And I know that, again, Pastor Lisa is going to be on, and I know she has a few questions. But I also wanted to point this out, too. As we talk about Uvalde, our organization will be going back to Uvalde next Thursday. We're working with the mayor's office now. And one of the things that we've also realized is that, like, even in Uvalde, there really is not a place or an outlet for kids to be able to do different things, from having access to a civic center and having access to different resources that we can use that's geared around youth. We're going to be working with them on that particular aspect of it. But I wanted to kind of talk through some of the things that the misperception of what is going on in Buffalo, what has happened in Buffalo, as well as what's still going on in, I'm sorry, Uvalde, what's still going on in Uvalde. There's a lot of things that we don't hear about on the media every day, Pastor Lisa, and we kind of spoke about this earlier today, that people don't hear about every day. And I think it's really cool to have the mayor on who can kind of speak to some of those things directly. Pastor Lisa, I'm sorry, I was throwing it back to you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was waiting on the mayor. I apologize. Right. Yeah, we're glad to hear firsthand from what's going on, because all we can rely on is the media. And so to hear straight from you and, the community, we were just saying that we can't just, move on, because there's still a community grieving. And sadly, what we hear is, did we lose him?
Yeah, we did, but we can keep going. He'll come again.
Okay. I'm sorry. You were throwing that to me. I'm sorry. I was thinking that you were directly asking him what was going on the ground. I'm sorry, Shaun.
No, I'll speak. So let's just talk about some of the things that's going on currently in Uvalde, right?
Right.
One of the things that the mayor's office has picked up on in Uvalde is they want to build a community center for the youth.
Right. That's where I was going before he came on with what. And Black Push built a community center, right?
No, we didn't build anything. I want to clarify that. We are partnered with the city in another nonprofit in Uvalde to raise the funds to do so.
Yeah.
So that's the purpose of a Black Push. We'll be going back to Uvalde next week to kind of map out where we see the facility being able to go, help connect some partners to help raise money for it. But we have to make sure, when we talk about gun violence, we can't talk about gun violence without talking about the mental health aspect of it, without dealing with the reality that most people who are committing these heinous crimes are young people nowadays. And we do have the mayor back on, but I was explaining to the mayor that one of the things that we're partnering with you guys on is to build a community center. So I wanted to kind of tell from you being the mayor of Uvalde, why that community center is going to be so important to Uvalde.
Well, that's one of the things in Uvalde is lacking. We don't have a community center where our youth can go and enjoy themselves. We don't have a place they can gather, a place that they can call their own. It's a safe place. It'll be a safe place for them. But that we can have, counseling there. We can have computer labs. We can have culinary classes. We can have, playtime, a soccer field, a basketball goes, rock climbing, just somewhere these kids can go that they know they'll be taken care of, they'll be loved, and that people care about them, and we can show that to them. Mm-hmm. A lot of these kids, never get to travel out of Uvalde. Uvalde's where they're at all the time, and this community center would be just a huge blessing to this community. And our thoughts are to dedicate it to the 19 children and 2 teachers who lost their life. And, out of this tragedy, what a blessing that God could provide, out of the tragedy to take something and bless this community. Mm-hmm. And it would be, like I said, we have a spot picked out in the center of town. It's right there by the Civic Center. So, we would repurpose the Civic Center into part of the youth center. Right below that is the amphitheater. From the amphitheater, there's a walking trail over to the park. So, we would take in, out of doing this, we would take in about a 2 or 3 block area that people could spread out and really have a lot of fun. And that park is one of the most beautiful parks. The sad thing is some of the equipment in that park was there when I was a child that we're still using. So hopefully we can come in and refurbish all this and these children will have a place to come and call their own, and they can take ownership of it.
Mm-hmm. So one of the things, me and you spoke a month ago, and there's a disconnect between the reality and what we read about in the newspaper and what we see on the news about what's going on in Uvalde. And I want you to kind of speak to some of that, about the misinformation, about the things that you guys are currently still going through and the resources that you guys currently still need.
Sure. One of the biggest things that we've had is with the media always reporting a headline story or something that's not true. It's just like the media out of Austin took that video and released it with the shooter in it and the gunshots and different things. when they knew we were already going to do that with the families, but we were going to edit that part out. And so the media is really, just, they're looking for a headline everywhere, and they want to make like we're a divided community. There's a lot of frustration in our community. There's no question about that. But Uvalde's a strong community, and they bind together for each other constantly. I mean, I can't tell you the number of plate sales, whether it be enchiladas, tacos, barbecue, that have gone on in Uvalde to support these families. And, we've got, of course, they've got the Rob School Fund, that they're collecting money in, but we've also got a community fund that we're collecting in. And then we've got a group that's come together, the Volunteer Fire Department, the Minstrel Alliance, and different ones are gathering, money, and they're making sure these families, because that's the biggest problem. Like a lot of these families are proud and so forth, and have all this paperwork that the government tells them to get your assist. And I don't even know that I could fill that paperwork out properly. So we've been working on getting that help to them, and hopefully we will get that and get there. But like I said, this is a strong community, and it's hurting right now, and there is some division, but we will come together. It's a strong community.
Mayor, I have a few questions. First of all, straight from you, if people wanted to donate, like you say that there's equipment there for the community center that was there. And first of all, thank you for even joining us today. But straight from you, where could people give? Because that would go directly to helping the community to get new equipment and to help that community directly. Where could we send it? Where could we send money or whatever is needed?
Well, one of those. One place still, and I apologize, I should have had the other website, but one is you can still send it to the Rob School Fund. You just have to label it for community, Okay. And that way they will separate it out and go. We've started the Uvalde Unidos Fund, and I need to get you the website on that. I don't have it with me. I apologize.
That's okay. You can get it to us after. You can get it to us after.
I apologize. I'll get it to you as quick as I can.
That's fine. Well, you can get it to us and we'll post it, and we're hearing it directly to you so people will know where to give it directly to you. And then secondly, I understand that elementary school has been closed permanently. The Robb Elementary School has been permanently closed.
It has been closed, and it will be torn down completely. And on the front of it, we're hoping to build a memorial there for these kids there. There will be a space there for them, and come back and build a nice memorial for them there, which would there would be it would be something they could come by. I mean, and people, it would be, we've got people that made crosses and sent them to Uvalde. We've got people that made wooden crosses and then carved all the children's names on it and the teachers' names on it. And what a place to be able to have, that people can go by and see, to remember these children and these teachers. And it's like everything, it's taking a little time, but hopefully within the next 30 to 45 days we'll get to go in there and start tearing down that school. It's the school district's call, but they're on board to tear it down.
So that's going to be a part of the healing process. And so with another school year about to begin, the siblings and just the whole community, I guess, will be starting another school year soon. So and then these students who went to Robb Elementary, of course, will be starting in another school. And I imagine, just some of the anxieties of just going to a different school or just going to school again, period, after how that school year ended. What is the community doing to help these little children, feel safe or just be able to go to school with that kind of heaviness from what happened hanging over? What is the community doing to be able to face what lies ahead in the weeks ahead for the new school year?
Well, one of the things that we've got to ensure these children and these parents that our law enforcement will be there and will be there to take care of their kids. I mean, that the tragedy that happened on May the 24th, there was a complete failure to take command by law enforcement of the situation. And one of the things that we've got to do is re-earn those families' trust and make sure that they know that their children will be safe in these schools and it will be there. And that's going to take some doing, but we will get there with it. That will be our number one priority. The second is to make sure the security measures are put in at the school district, which they're working on and have been receiving funds for now. And they are planning and do have a school fund set up where a private donation already gave them $10 million to build a new school, and and that's moving forward, and we're gonna get that school built. But the biggest thing is to assure these parents that their kids are going to be safe. The other thing that we have to deal with constantly as being so close to the border is the bailouts of the coyotes that are smuggling the illegal immigrants, and they come through town being chased, and then they bail out by a school. This Rob school, was put on lockdowns 4 times in the last month before this tragic thing happened. So, and before that, it's been 50 times in the last 12 months. And, that's one of our concerns again as we start back to school. What's going to happen when we have to go on, when these schools have to go on lockdown? How's it going to traumatize these students? And how's it going to traumatize these parents not knowing what's going on? So that's another issue that we're trying to deal with right now.
That's a lot. And that's a lot. I want to say that I know one thing that you're doing and the city council there in Uvalde is doing, and I just want to commend you because the way I look at this is it's something you're doing to make everybody feel safe is and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that you all are looking at every single police officer that you all are responsible for, because I understand that I can't even keep up with it. What I read in the news, all the different law enforcement agencies that were involved and all the things that were not done that should have been done, all that is so confusing because there were so many. But the ones that the city council of Uvalde is responsible for, that the city council has said that they're going to look at every single officer and what each officer did or did not do and could have done, and hold each officer responsible for what they did do or didn't do. And so if that's correct, I commend, because I believe you're on city council, Mayor, and I commend you for that. I think that goes a long way in speaking to the community that you all are serious about. And that's why justice matters, because that's part of justice is holding people responsible for what they did or didn't do and bringing some form of justice to the families and the victims, to the ones that could have stood in the way or done something. So I commend you and the city council for, reviewing all of that. And I'm just curious because I read a quote from somebody in city council who said, we promise that we will take action, and where it's warranted. And I was just curious, and you don't have to answer this if it's not appropriate, but would action mean, would the sir? Would this?
We've said from day one that every officer in every agency at school that they will have to be accountable, and that includes our officers. And we've hired a third party outside group to come in and do a review of our whole system and every officer's actions that day and what they did that day. And then once we have that report, then once we get his report and review every officer's actions, we will take the appropriate actions that come from us in that report. And every officer will be looked at that was there that day. The good thing is we were the first to come out and ask for this. Now the DPS has done it. Now the sheriff's department is doing it. So hopefully they will all continue, because we definitely need answers of what happened that day, and we need to know what went wrong, what we should have done, and we need to hold these people accountable that didn't do it. We've already put our acting assistant police chief, or he was acting police chief that day. We've already put him on leave, and we have to follow the procedures. When the videos came out, it gave us a justification to do that. And as we're going through the others, we'll take the appropriate actions that need to be taken. I can promise you that.
And I really do.
And one thing too I wanted to bring out to Mayor Don is that we spoke about it the other day, that philosophically, how has this what happened in Uvalde change your view of gun policies, and what are some of the things that you want to see passed on a federal standpoint, and on a state standpoint, to kind of make sure that we're doing a better job of protecting everybody?
Sure. Well,
yes.
Sure. Well, first of all, I mean, you can't buy cigarettes, you can't buy a beer, you can't, why not change the law back to 21 years old? 18 is too young to be getting those guns. Secondly, we need to pass red flag laws, common sense red flag laws that work. And we need lawmakers to sit down at a table and roll up their sleeves on both sides and say, you know what, I'm not going to get 100%, you're not going to get 100%, but together we can come up with common sense laws that work for everybody and protect our kids. But it's the gun laws are going to have to be, it's going to have to be looked at. And stronger background checks. I mean, I don't know why anybody would be against a stronger background check. I mean, that's just good common sense. And if you want to change the age to 21 is great. I think we should. And if a child or a man wants to get an assault weapon, make him go through a class. Make him pass the test. Maybe give him a competency test. If he doesn't pass that test, don't give him the gun or don't give him the authority to get it. I mean, there's lots of things that we can do if we just sat down at a table and work together instead of, we've got, the Republican side saying, oh, no, we can't have guns. That's our Second Amendment. We can do all of this without affecting the Second Amendment and still keep the Second Amendment. It's just good common sense rules and laws that we need to pass. And that's what we elected people to do. And we're not doing that. And we need to.
And recently, if I recall right, the council has called on the state and the government to come back into session, correct?
We have. The city council has asked the governor to call a special session. The county commission has done it, and the school board has done it. We've all asked the governor to call a special session, and let's change the law to 21 and stricter background checks. And we just passed ours Tuesday night. The county passed theirs on Monday, and so did the school district. So hopefully we'll get some. And we're hoping, and we're hearing that other counties and cities around us are starting to ask for the same thing. So hopefully if we come with a united front, the message will get out there and we'll get that done.
Those kind of measures have to provide some kind of forward movement for healing for the families and for the community to see that, these lives, the lives aren't going to come back, but at least, the community and the leaders in the community, such as yourself, Mayor, are taking this seriously and taking steps to make sure that this won't happen again and covering every angle of this. And, I just want to throw in that because I understand, when the community's hurting, and then, this has become, of course, national and international news. And then people hear this and people are angry and people want to blame. And of course, everyone's blaming law enforcement, and rightfully so, yes. But then some people take that too far. And then things like even death threats start coming in, and people start sending death threats to the, to the officers or the leaders in the community. And I just want to say that doesn't get us anywhere. I'm just speaking this to the public because, the answer to violence is not more violence. You don't solve violence with more violence. When you're protesting, and yes, the murders were wrong. That was awful. But the answer to violence, you don't protest mass murders by death threats. I mean, that doesn't even make sense. And even, Martin Luther King, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, you don't solve the answer to violence isn't violence. And the answer to, hate isn't more hate. The answer to hate is love. And so I just want to, speak to people who just are throwing up their hands and saying, well, let's just, those people who should have saved them didn't, so let's go take them out. That's just not the answer. You don't come against violence with more violence. I just want to put that out there because, that's not the answer. We see that the leadership in the community is taking steps and actions to bring justice and to correct wrongs that were in place. I saw where even the principal was sat down, for lack of a better word. I know that's church talk, but she was disciplined in the way that I know that she resisted that and said no. We did take school safety seriously, and I'm not going one way or the other on that, but I'm just saying that the powers that be have looked at every aspect of this, even to the school principal and the safety measures that the school itself, was that classroom locked? Should that inside outdoor be locked? That every angle of the community has been looked at, and every person in the school, in the law enforcement, everybody is under scrutiny, and you all are not leaving any stone unturned. And again, I commend you for that. And that's the way to handle things when injustice takes place and just senseless mass, and even appealing to the governor to have a session and look at these gun laws, and then every angle of this is, and I commend you for that. And sometimes in some states like Texas and Georgia, some things are harder to bring attention to than in other states. And without even going there, I'm just saying that I appreciate that, and we we commend you, and I'm thankful for you, and we keep you in our prayers, and we keep those who are doing the right thing in our prayers, and the community of Uvalde and all of those little children. I just, my heart just, it just breaks for them having to face a school year. And, are you all going to have like any kind of counselors on hand as they go back to school, or is there,
every school will have counselors at it. We will have tons of counselors in the community that will be available for these kids and their families. Not only the families of the victims or those that were injured, but all the kids that were at that school that day. I mean, they're victims too for what happened that day, and we make sure there's plenty of counselors there for that.
And the teachers are the teachers. Yeah. It's a shame the day that we're living in, that somebody said, I remember when the biggest threat that we had, somebody was saying it's a sign of the times when it was Shaun, the Black Put. Shaun said, the biggest threat in my day, and you're so right, Shaun. He said the biggest threat in our day, he remembered lining up in the halls for tornado drills. It was like, if we have a tornado, and now we have to line up and do these active shooter drills, and it's just, a sign of where things have gone. And he's young, and the time when he was in school, it was tornadoes, and now it's active shooter drills. And it's just having to adjust to these things in laws, and then, but little kids, it's a shame when your childhood, when you should be enjoying the innocence of your childhood, and you have to go to school and learn about, if somebody comes in to shoot you up, this is what you do. That just really ought not be. And for those of you who are leading in these areas, we just thank you for your service to the community, and know that those of us across the country stand with you and lift you up to prayer. And thank you, because somebody like you could just resign and say, I didn't sign up for all this, but we just thank you for your leadership and your service to the community, and pray God gives you wisdom and strategy every day. There's not a textbook answer for all of this.
Thank you.
I want to go back to Mayor Don, because we've had this conversation before, and I think it's important that the public hears from you. The day that this tragedy happened, like, we've heard so many different stories about what was going on. You shared with me privately how at the same time that you guys were having the active shooting going on at actually Robb Elementary, you guys were getting threats for the middle school and high school that's in Uvalde as well. And even till today, you guys are still getting threats. Let's just kind of talk to the psychosis of a nation, where you guys are still getting threats, or people who were actually on the side of the person who committed this crime.
Yeah, that's the one thing that we've seen. I mean, while we were dealing with the Robb school shooter, and that, just as soon as we breached that, we got Facebook messages that we're going to finish what our family members started. We're going to the high school. We're going to your middle school. So we had to dispatch officers all over the community that day, lock all the schools down, and deal with it. And I mean, the officers right now, I understand people are frustrated with the officers went on, but they get death threats nonstop. Pretty much, I don't know anybody on council that hadn't received death threats. You know, I mean, I had one the other day. The guy was coming to town to. He's going to show you all about what the Second Amendment's going to be about. You know, and you know, that's not, like you said earlier, that Pastor, that's not going to help anybody. Violence is not going to, violence to answer violence with violence doesn't solve anything. And we need to reach out and work with each other to get through this, because it's going to take all of us, not just some of us. It's going to take all of us. But I mean, the threats and the people, you know, that you wouldn't believe some of the deals that we got that glorified this shooter, that we won't. I mean, we don't publish it because we're not going to dignify him. We won't. I'm not even going to say his name, but I mean, it's like he has a fan club out there, and he was on social media. That's the other thing that we need to be aware of. He was in chat rooms, and there were children that knew this potential could happen, but they were afraid to speak up and say anything. And that's something that we've got to, you know, you know, work with our children and our kids on, that if you hear something like this, whatever, report it. We might, you know, this might could have been stopped, you know, should have been stopped, but you know, people didn't share that information with us and on the sites. And so, like I said, it's across all areas that we've got to be aware of our surroundings and what's going on and how to take it head on.
I mean, I'm just asking, how can you assure a child who sees this on a social media thing, how can you assure a little child, where can they go to safely snitch and know that they're not going to get shot up, or, you know that they're not going to get found out and suffer a repercussion from, where can they go to, you know what I'm saying? How can they feel like they can, who can they tell without?
Sure. Well, they can tell if they don't want to do it, they can tell their parents to us. But we have an 800 line in Texas. And again, I'm sorry, I don't have the number in front of me, but you can call and report stuff on, and you don't have to leave your name or anything. You can just report it and they'll investigate it. And you have the same thing at the police department there, the sheriff's department. You can call in and you can report it, and we'll go investigate it without you having to give us your information. I mean, we understand people, you know, people are worried about retaliation and scared of different things. Or, you know, my phone in town, send me a message, send me a text, or any council member up there. We will make sure the proper people are notified.
That's a great idea to have, especially an 800 number, because I think a kid might be afraid to call the sheriff, or I understand that it's a good thing to do, but I love the kind of anonymous 800 number. I think it would be great if every state had that, because it seems like it's more anonymous.
And I will make this known, Pastor Lisa. Also, too, DHS and FBI has anonymous tip lines that you can always reach out to call. And we will post that in the link today, just so everybody has it. We'll pull the information for Texas as well. But there are places that you can call. We're coming up on the short of time, but I also want to end by allowing Mayor Don to kind of talk to the heart of Uvalde. Like, what is it that the people of Uvalde want the world to hear? What is their heart right now? What are some of the things that they're still needing help with, and how can we as a platform be help?
Sure. I mean, what the biggest thing this community wants now is they know that their kids are going to be taken care of, and they're going to be cared for, and they're going to be watched over, and they're going to be safe. And that's our first and foremost to do. The second thing is the ability to give these kids to have something that they can go to with this rec center would be a blessing for them. Some of these kids go home to an empty home because they may be raised by a single parent that has to work 2 jobs, or both parents that are having to work, you know, all the time just to make ends meet to get by. That this rec center would be a place of blessing and a place of light, that we'll have tutors there, we'll have counseling there, we'll have fellowship there, we'll have, you know, like I said, we will have people there to reach out to find, and maybe we find this young man that's a diamond in the rough that we can go back and do it. But, you know, this community wants first accountability, first and foremost, which we understand that. And second, we want to get unity back in our community and bring it back together. And we will. It's just going to take time, but we will get that. And hopefully with this rec center, what a blessing it would be to this community and these kids and their families.
Pastor Lisa, any final questions?
Well, no, I just want to say, that's not just a Uvalde problem. It's an American problem. So, it's like Dr. King said, injustice anywhere, threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So it's our problem too. So I hope everybody heard your heart and all of America. And that's why after this broadcast, we're going to post where we can directly send to help you, and not to whatever fake counterfeit people that would try to prey off of, your tragedy and collect money. So we want to post where we can directly help to make that a reality for your community. And there's a private conversation going on there, but no, we just want to be a part of the solution. And again, just say to stay encouraged. And I mean, it breaks my heart that there's, as I said before, that it's hard enough to lead, through what you all and the city council are leading through, but then to receive death threats and all of this on top of that. And, is there anything that you all are doing, like you were saying about how kids are, like how these mass shooters have these, like, these people have almost fan clubs? Is there anything that you can say to parents, Mayor, is there anything that parents need to be doing? I mean, watch your kids, yes, but is there anything specific that, because I noticed this with the Buffalo shooter too, obviously he had developed a whole hatred to go out and kill as many Black people as just for the color of their skin. He had developed this. I don't know what the parent situation was, but it was a whole social media thing. And is there anything you can say to parents as far as, how they become fans of these people? They just seem to be able to rope any child in to follow them, and to, like you said, that there were all these threats to middle schools and high schools too, and they just, they collect kids to their cause, and it seems to like brainwash them into something just completely evil. And how that happens, is there anything, can you just speak to parents about this, or is there anything you can say to that? Just based on
I can.
Sir?
I can. One of the grandparents the other night got up and said it best when he was asking for accountability from the school board and from us. But then he turned around and told the parents that we've got to start holding our kids accountable for their actions, because it's our kids that are killing kids, and we need to hold them accountable, and we need to know what they're doing and what sites they're visiting and so forth. I mean, it's going to take all of us to do this. So I would strongly urge parents to know what social platforms your children are on, what they're doing, and so forth, because that man said it the best, that we have to hold our own children accountable, because like I said, it's our kids that are killing kids.
Thank you. And thank you for being on. We really appreciate your time. I can imagine the demands on your time. So thank you. And thank you, Shaun.
No, absolutely. And I just want to thank Mayor Don. And as you know, Mayor Don, Black Push is going to be there with you guys next Thursday to kind of help push this rec center. We've already had some great conversations today, literally. And after this out, we'll talk about later on about people who want to partner with us to make sure that this becomes a reality. And we will put information for anybody who wants to go and donate towards this event. And we're going to post, but please pay attention to Black Push's page. Over the next couple of weeks, we're going to post videos. We're going to post letters of different organizations coming together and trying to help get this done. Because we know that we have to do something with our youth, and we have to build a community in which is worthy of our youth. And we have to make sure that our youth are taken care of. And we will do that. And we will not leave Uvalde nor Buffalo or any other city or state that has been impacted by this. Even now, we have parents in Parkland who are having to relive the fact of their children who are not there, who their murderer is now being put on trial, started last week. So we want to remember that this is not a tragedy that just hit Uvalde. It has hit this nation, and it's a pandemic, and we have work to do. And no matter whether you're Democrat or Republican, you're left or you're right, the reality that a person should have the fundamental right to live a good life should not be something that's debatable. And I thank Mayor Don for coming on at such a last minute, and I know what you're doing, Mayor Don. So I know where you're at and what's going on. So thank you so much for your time and how you dedicated your time to answering some of these questions today.
Well,
Thank you.
Shaun, I appreciate you taking an interest in Uvalde and bringing this out there. And Pastor Lisa, I thank you too for the opportunity, because it's going to take folks like you to bring awareness to this, and we appreciate the help you're giving to Uvalde. Thank you so much, and God bless you both.
No, and thank you, Mayor Don, and God bless you. Thank you, Pastor Lisa, for allowing Black Push to collaborate with you on your podcast today. Please, you guys, if you have not shared this video with other people, we'll put it on all our platforms. It'll be on Vimeo today, Roku TV today. We're going to push it out. We're going to make sure it's put across the whole nation, because we need to not forget what happened in Uvalde. Let's not forget what happened in Buffalo. Let's not forget what happened in Alabama. Let's not forget what happened in Chicago just recently. We can make a difference, and the way we're going to make a difference, we have to elect people who are not afraid to stand up and say that we can protect our Second Amendment rights while at the same time protecting lives. Thank you, Mayor Don. Thank you, Pastor Lisa. And thank you to everybody who tuned in today.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank y'all.